Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome to the final day of week 1 of the Major 3 qualifiers. With OpTic Texas already 6-0 in map count since they brought Prolute into the team, but they believe they can perform even better than they have done so far against Florida and the Los Angeles Guerrillas. They may well need to, given their opposition over the next couple of weekends. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that on 78k. I know we got there yesterday, but thanks again. Just love to see it. First of all, we've got to recap the final series that went down last night, a quicker one than I was expecting it to be. But honestly, Los Angeles Guerrillas right now are in complete freefall, and I don't really know what they're going to do. As attaches, I knew it was going to be a good day when Havok passed the integrity check. I guess this is kind of what they do. I've never really seen this before on the screen, but yeah, kind of the PCs that the pros have, like in their apartments that they play the proper matches on. I think CDL sanctioned PCs, or maybe they've just given them the PCs, and they can like check them remotely to make sure there's no dodgy stuff on the PC. So yeah, the football didn't really work out right here for Havok in this series, but well, it certainly worked out in the game 3. As Rokkr say, win without the Volk or draw 25. And yeah, it seems like it's not even possible for LAG. So not really sure what's happened to their team. Sometimes it does happen when a team wins, as they did in Major 2, and then they can't replicate that victory. The team, like the chemistry implodes very quickly just because they got to those heights and now they can't get anywhere close to that anymore. And like internally, the friction starts to develop and the team can blow apart very quickly. It's happened in fairness with some slasher teams in the past, and it's an absolute disaster for them what is going on over there right now. And I wonder what they're actually going to do about it, right? Because this series, they got 3-0'd pretty quickly, to be honest. Game 1 was not particularly close on Gavutu, 250, 190 or so. Attach was a monster on that game. Search and Destroy goes there well as well. I'm pretty sure 6-3 or something on Bocage. Game mode where, of course, Minnesota Rokkr have been pretty good. And in fairness, Rokkr looked good. I expected them to look pretty decent in this series. Havok certainly brought a lot, especially in that control, for example. He had a monster performance there to close out the game. But, I mean, yeah, Havok and Attach both with a 1.52 to sweep Los Angeles Guerrillas. The final series stats look like this. Honestly, like, quick word on Priestahh. Like, yes, they did win this series, which, of course, is good when you win. It doesn't really matter what the stats are. But, like, the fact that he has, not quite the lowest damage in the lobby. I guess that was beaten out by Spart and Huke, who had pretty tough times, but on the losing team. But he has 39 kills, and Havok's got 67. That's not too far off double, to be honest, what Priestahh was bringing up, and he only has a 0.87. So, I know people were talking about this, like, look, Priestahh, like, could he just have a good series for once to prove he belongs on the team? So, look, we'll see, I suppose. Like, if this team starts consistently getting beaten by other squads, then maybe Priesthah's spot is already more in doubt than it already is. But in fairness, here, Standy, Havok, Adapt, they both had great series. So, like, well, credit to those guys. Greasy Gang turned up big time at, exactly what Minnesota needed, right? And it also puts New York in a bit of a precarious spot. We'll see that here in a second, because the teams around them have all started to start winning their series, right? And Champs qualification is very much, up for grabs right now. As, even on the LAG side, it was just a disaster. Even when Asim played a bit better than he has done of late, they still got beaten 3-0. So this was just like a demolition job, to be honest. And as Sasha says, mind-blowing stuff, GG's Minnesota. Even when we kind of like tuned into the listenings and stuff like that, it seemed like nothing was really going their way. The frustrations were kind of creeping into the team. So what exactly do they do? Gunless is there on the bench. We don't know if Gunless is back to full health yet. We imagine he's getting there rather quickly. But of course, there's also been talk about, okay, Seattle Surge. Do they need another main AR? Could Gunless be a guy to step into that team? But I'm sure LAG, given their current circumstances, might not want to do that, right? It's not just like Spart has fallen off without the Volk and the team's kind of collapsed. It just seems like internally things that haven't gone well. It doesn't just seem like one of those situations where a team wins and then, doesn't really get anything else after that. And who knows whether they even make a move soon, which would be kind of incredible to see. But surely it's got to happen rather soon here, right? Because the stats are absurd. Like as Tucker Academy points out, Gunner's getting ready for his return, which may well be the case sooner rather than later. But look at this here that Chrome points out, including the Pro-Am. So this is from Major 2, of course, they won it. I'm sure they're ruining that mid-season break that pretty much killed all their momentum in that month off after winning Major 2. But going into the Pro-Am, since then, they're 4-15 in map counts. It's winning the second major, and are currently on a 5-match losing streak. They went into the Pro-Am, got bodied in groups 3-0, not expected at all. They were in a group with Toronto Academy North America, got reverse swept by them. Boston and Paris even beat them as well. I know they've lost 2 more series, 1 to OpTic, but of course they had a substitute, which, so they're looking pretty damn good with Prolute. We'll see that here in a second. But this series against Minnesota, arguably one of the worst teams in the league, certainly in the C tier, but he wouldn't put them any higher than that. Getting 3-0'd by them is just, an absolute shambles. And what this does mean for the league standings is that LAG still on 115, they should be good for champs, but it is possible, in theory, if they don't do much going forward. Let's say they come 12th at both coming majors. It is possible they get overhauled by some of the teams below them, and they could go down into 9th, so they do need to get their act together here, but they should be okay. Now, this does mean that New York are a bit precarious now, because Rokkr and Toronto both winning around them does mean that subliners really need to, start winning and winning quickly, and they have a series later on today that is not necessarily a must-win, but, it's not far off, to be honest, given the current circumstances here in the league. Did want to mention this as well, because you guys might have seen some of the drama that was going down last night. It was a pretty fun time, no doubt. But I think General was well within his rights to respond to this tweet here and defend himself. It's always difficult when you're trying to make a point in 280 characters and you can't get across all the nuance and the kind of different elements of the argument, I suppose, and I wanted to keep it kind of snappy. But I wasn't really trying to discredit General in the tweet here. The fact that, okay, they got 3-0'd with General at the Prime Classic, they 3-0'd in with Prolute. I think it's generally relatively clear to see, to at least most people, that, General was not as good an option as Prolute was. The OpTic guys obviously agree. The roles didn't seem to work out too well. And of course, the circumstances within those two series were rather different, as he kind of describes here. The circumstances leading up to, well, the first series they played with him, like they had no prep time at all. This series, of course, yesterday they had a few days to prepare with Prolute in the team and all that type of stuff. But even, outside of that one, I think it's kind of clear to see that even when General had a little bit more prep time going into the brackets, they were 1 in 5 in respawns against those other two teams. So not to take anything away from General's individual performance, I think the team agrees that he did a great job given the circumstances. But I also do think it's relatively clear that Prolute was the better fit in this position. But, he's well within his right, I think, to defend himself and stuff like this. But I don't really think anything I said was unreasonable. But you guys can feel free to disagree, I suppose, in the comments. Let's dive into this one then. So, of course, OpTic get the victory yesterday up against the Florida Mutineers. An impressive 3-0 stomping of Florida. Not an easy team to 3-0, to be honest. Certainly on their side, they looked pretty woeful yesterday. But yeah, Prolute turned up in the search and destroy. Shotty, Dashy, they were kind of doing their thing. Scump had his moments. Job done at 3-0. Yet to lose a map, right? 6 maps in a row they've played so far. And at all the modes, of course, that does mean they're winning all the modes against all the teams. Now, look, the Los Angeles Guerrillas series, looking back on it, how impressive really was that, given the way they're looking right now. We saw that just a few minutes ago. But the Florida one, I think, was pretty impressive. As I say, Florida are a team that often online can do some damage. And certainly wasn't the case yesterday. They shut them down all across the board, made them look amateurish, to be honest, at times. There was some funny things coming out actually here, like the flag pointed this out, or at least I believe Slim Pancake was the first maybe to mention this, but Aches kind of said that Prolute in this interview kind of looks like Rambo and Shotty put together, or just some combination of the OpTic players. And Slim Pancake actually did this, right? He did a face swap with Rambo and Shotty, and it does, how is this possible? It actually does look a lot like Prolute. If you just kind of combine the coach of the team and Shotty, basically looks like Prolute, right? So the genetics clearly are there for success within this lineup. But Shotty says even team is playing amazing, hashtag brick by brick. But they've also said really that they believe there is more to come from this team. Scump was very happy about it. He'll actually have a few words to say here in a second on Prolute and his success within the team, and the fact that he was killing it in his first ever series up against LAG, and certainly even more so yesterday in the one against the Florida Mutineers. But this was interesting from Rambo Ray just before I share that clip. Good match again from the squad today. GG's to Florida. Not the most efficient games for our end today, but we'll have a full week of scrims ahead of us to fix the kinks and be ready for the FaZe squad. Your guys' support is unmatched. Really interesting. This kind of reminds me actually of when they won the first major, and obviously going into the Major 2 qualifiers after that first major victory, they still continued an incredible run of series victories there. And they said after the first major, look, we didn't really play our best. We beat FaZe 5-2 in the grand finals, could have 5-0'd them. We still had more to come at that event and more to come in the future, and they kind of showed that really over the coming weeks, not on stage 2 major, but you know what I mean. But generally this attitude from the OpTic guys that despite the fact if they're winning every series or winning every map, in this case the last 2 days, they still realize there's more to come from this team. There's more potential there. The respawns haven't been perfect, they haven't been super clinical as Rambo I'm sure would like them to be. And this mindset is just is massive, I think, for OpTic. When you're losing a map and you're already thinking look, we're not playing perfect, we could do better, and they probably will need to with the matches that are upcoming. This is what Scump has to say.
Yo, big shouts out to Prolute today. I thought was today Prolute's first professional match. I think it was his first professional match today, bro, and he handled it. He handled it like an absolute champion. So shouts out to big dog Byron. Yo, that boy Byron's a menace. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. That guy is a menace.
So these are the remaining games of the OpTic have. They're currently 2-0, 6-0 map count. They should be absolutely fine. But next weekend they play against FaZe. This is another match between these two teams. Really frustrating to me. They haven't played New York yet at all this season. They will finally play them on Sunday, May the 29th, because we haven't seen Crim versus Scump so far this season, which is kind of sad to be honest. But yeah, we do get OpTic versus FaZe. There are 3 series here that OpTic have a very tough time. So they pretty much needed to win both those 2 series they had so far, because these final 3 are tough. I think they probably will have to play better than they did the last couple of days if if they want to, beat all three of these teams. But, we'll see how it goes against FaZe, I suppose, once again. Of course, FaZe are going to be seriously coming for blood in this series, there's no doubt about it. And whether they can replicate what they do with General here, the 2-3-5 or the 2-4-5 actually as it was with Prolute, is that another question? Maybe their respawns are better. We shall see. But, FaZe, their search and destroy, if they can fix that up, it's pretty hard to call. But they play FaZe next weekend. That's only one game they play on the Sunday. Then the week after that, they play the Subliners on the Sunday as well. And then I guess this is on the Saturday they play the Subliners because it's UK time. And then on the Sunday, they play up against the Los Angeles Thieves. So three, I think, very difficult matches. You could argue that, New York Thieves and FaZe are the rest of the top four teams in the game outside of OpTic, right? Like, they're right up there. So I think they probably will have to improve. I think Rambo probably realizes that. But, he thinks they certainly can, right? And he's definitely seen something in the last few days that they can even, take some serious strides on from. So I think definitely some positive signs from the OpTic side. But again, certainly for other teams, not necessarily the case. This I thought was pretty funny, actually, as well as Hex says a couple of days ago. Like, Ilya and the boys all got that kind of OpTic chain that was going on. And, as Shotty says, Hector, I don't know how to act with this chain on. He reckons it's kind of the factor, the difference maker in the team. And even as Dashi says, those chains got us feeling different, man. And Byron Prolute reckons the difference maker for him is the fact that, the Frisco Diner or whatever that the OpTic guys like to go to got me shooting Diffie, right? So I thought, good signs really that the chemistry is there within the team. And obviously they're having great success already. And potentially more to come from this roster. Los Angeles Thieves in action later today. A massive series actually for them. We'll see that here in just a second. Envoy was the real Reaper up against the Royal Ravens a couple of days ago. These stats pretty absurd. But again, will they replicate that fashion today up against the Minnesota Rokkr, a team that looked pretty good yesterday? But yes, the first series, they called it on the flank last night, the blow it up bowl. I think this is really the true blow it up bowl in a way. It's certainly right up there in that category. Seattle versus the Paris Legion. This to me, I think the Seattle will find a way to win this series because at Paris, look, I'm not really sold on them, to be honest. It feels like just Donny Temp really is kind of getting frustrated with the situation, understandably so. And for all his good work, they're still the 12th best team in the game, so that's kind of tough scenes. But yeah, Seattle have been on the downward trajectory. Their respawn has been pretty shocking lately, to be honest. It was really only a monster performance from Pred that got them through that game 3. And of course, they lost both the hardpoint in that series, which is scary against a team like Paris, that their hardpoint has been good. But, I do think that Seattle are going to find a way to do it. I think they are favourites here, but, I'm going to say maybe 3-2 Seattle. Then Los Angeles Thieves versus the Minnesota Rokkr. This is a really interesting one because Rokkr looked great yesterday in their respawns. But Thieves, their hardpoint has been looking back on good form lately, as is their control. Like, the search and destroy is kind of tough to say because Rokkr, I think when they had MajorManiak, they were probably a stronger force maybe in search than they are now. But, I think the Thieves probably are the better team. Like, we've seen what Octane's been saying the last few weeks, that when Thieves play in scrims at least, of course scrims aren't everything, Minnesota Rokkr have been the scrim demons apparently. So far this season, it hasn't really replicated in the matches itself. But Octane's basically saying, look, they beat every team that they should be beating in scrims, which it makes me feel like the respawns should be favoured here for Thieves, and I feel like they'll close it out. But honestly, this could be a game 5. I think I'll take Thieves 3-1 though, and then Subliners versus Breach. I always enjoy these New York-Boston series. I'm not sure what the record actually is between these two teams so far, but I feel like New York have won at least once against Boston, maybe twice, and maybe they actually have a pretty solid record against Boston this season. But even if not, I think they should be favourites here. I'm not really sure what to think about Boston lately. They look pretty good for a time at Major 2. Since then, it's seemingly been on a bit of a downhill trajectory. Of course, the Subliners, it's the complete opposite story. So yeah, to me, again, I'm thinking a 3-1 here for New York. I think their respawn might just end up being too strong. But yeah, definitely tweet your perspective in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us a YouTube god, this is a good video. I don't like you should see it as well. And I'm growing the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.